Hello and welcome to From Digital to D&D. In this series, some random guy on the internet tries to take a character from fiction and attempts to turn them into a suitable stat block for you to use in your games of Dungeons & Dragons. For those of you unaware, each episode of this series will be broken down into the following sections. The character introduction, where I attempt to explain the background of the character. The feature breakdown, where I point out what aspects of the character I'll be attempting to convert. The stat block, where I show off the monster sheet and explain how it works and how to use it. And finally the plot hooks, where I explain possible uses for the character in your games of D&D. Naturally, any character that features in this series belongs to the respective owners. Today, we're starting off a special version of this series as we tackle a character with many forms.
Hey, it's me, Goku!
Oh, no, not you. We're delving into the world of Pokémon owned by Game Freak and looking at an evolutionary line. Today, we start off with the poster child of the series, the mouse Pokémon, Pikachu.
I wanna be the very best.
Wait. Before I get into the introduction, I should explain how Pokémon will work in this series. The whole point of Pokémon is to catch and evolve them, but to convert catching Pokémon into D&D is rather tricky. So, for the time being, I will just be putting the Pokémon themselves in. Once I find an optimal way, I will show you some rules for catching and training Pokémon. But until then, let's get to Pikachu. Pikachu is one of the most famous Pokémon in the world, featuring with the debut of the series in 1996 and has lost some weight since then. This small yellow mouse is what is known as an electric type Pokémon, meaning it has a natural affinity with electricity. Those cute red cheeks aren't for show. They're where Pikachu holds their powerful charges, able to release them at will to shock their opponent. Pikachu has starred in countless games and was the primary Pokémon of the anime, standing by Ash Ketchum's side from start to finish. Although small, Pikachu is a powerhouse, able to take on Pokémon far stronger and come out on top thanks to the support of their trainer. But the most special part of not just Pikachu, but all Pokémon, is evolution. Pikachu is just the second stage of their evolution, starting off with the even cuter form called Pichu. Pichu is a baby version of Pikachu, smaller and weaker with plenty of room to grow. A Pichu has less control of their own electricity, leading to the poor things sometimes shocking themselves and others without meaning to. They're very playful and curious, acting like little children seeing the world for the first time. On the other side is the final form of the Pikachu line, Raichu. This form is much stronger than Pikachu, able to generate much more electricity and has far greater control over it. Raichu stands out from the previous forms as it becomes more confident. As the Pokédex tells us, their personality is also affected by the amount of electricity they have built up. If they have too much energy, they become more aggressive and feisty. To prevent this, most Raichu stab their tail into the ground and discharge themselves, returning back to a more passive state. Then, there's the special variant of Raichu found in the Alolan region. These Raichu gain psychic powers at the cost of some of their electric powers, able to hover off the ground by surfing on the tails, for example. The Pikachu line is a classic of the series, and whilst it may not stand at the peak, it can always challenge the best. A Pichu, Pikachu, and a Raichu can be a loyal friend if treated well. So, what can the Pikachu line do? As electric types, their main ability is to generate and expel bolts of electricity. They also have a natural resistance to electricity. Like some other electric type Pokémon, Pikachu has their passive ability called Static. This ability has the chance to inflict foes who attack Pikachu by touching it with the Paralyzed condition, a nasty condition that has a chance of preventing the opponent from being able to attack. They can also have a hidden trait called Lightning Rod, which causes electric attacks to be directed to Pikachu instead of the original target. Pikachu can expel lightning in the form of a thunderbolt, a bolt of electricity fired at a target. They can also create a thundercloud and call down a bolt of lightning, packing more of a punch but being easier to avoid. Pikachu can also expel the lightning in smaller ways, firing a small arc of electricity in a thunder jolt. Pikachu has a move unique to their line of evolution, Volt Tackle. This move is arguably Pikachu's strongest move, dealing a high amount of damage but comes with the cost of Pikachu also taking some of the recoil. As lightning courses through their veins, each form is also very fast, able to outpace most other Pokemon. Their quick attack lets them often make the first strike, chipping away at their opponent until they can be felled by a blast of lightning. The Pikachu line is also special in what is required to evolve. Most Pokemon can evolve by accumulating enough XP, but this doesn't work for any of Pikachu's forms. Pichu can only evolve if it is at maximum happiness, turning into a Pikachu. For a Pikachu to evolve into a Raichu, it must be given a special gem called a Thunderstone, the power of the stone allowing Pikachu to evolve. The Alolan variant of Raichu is achieved the same way, but the evolution has to be triggered in the Alola region. As Pikachu evolves, its strength and power evolve with it. I won't beat around the bush. The only way Pokemon are getting into this series is with multiple sheets. Similar to dragons in D&D, most Pokemon are probably going to have sheets with shared traits in each form, simply going stronger. Like how a dragon goes from wormling to young, young to adult, and so on. There will be exceptions, of course, but Pikachu isn't one of them. So, we begin with the first form of the line, Pichu. We finally did it, everyone. We made a small sheet. I will put a disclaimer now that as more Pokemon appear in this series, there may be instances where the power scaling gets a little messed up. I'll try my best to be fair, and this by no means is me saying one character is stronger than the other. Like normal, I'll go through each sheet to explain how it works. Pichu is a tiny monstrosity. Most Pichu are listed at around 1 foot tall. That's tiny if you ask me. As for the creature type, you could argue Pokemon should be beasts, but when they're called pocket monsters, it leaves me with a dilemma. There's nothing really stopping you from making Pokemon beasts, but going forward, I'll be making them monstrosities until stated otherwise. Alignment is subjective as always, but given they're essentially animals, most Pokemon will be unaligned. Pichu has an armor class of 13 due to its dexterity. Most Pichu have an average of 12 hit points with 4d4 hit dice and a +2 constitution bonus. Pichu has a walking speed of 30 feet, which might seem low, but consider a 1 foot mouse can run as fast as a person, unlike gnomes, dwarves and halflings. Moving on to stats, Pichu has the following. They have a 6 in strength, 16 in dexterity, 8 in constitution, 4 in intelligence, 6 in wisdom, and 11 in charisma. And next up is damage resistance, and Pichu has resistance to lightning damage. Or, you could say, it's not very effective.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Pichu has a passive perception of 8 and no languages. From what I can tell, Pika Pika isn't an actual language, and most Pokemon are like real world pets. A dog doesn't understand English, but it understands the meaning of words like sit or fetch due to context. As the first form of the line, Pichu is CR 1/4. Moving on to traits, Pichu has 1. Static. When a creature within 5 feet of Pichu hits with a melee attack, it must make a DC 9 Constitution saving throw or be paralysed for 1 minute. The creature can repeat the saving throw at the end of its turn, ending the effect on a success. A DC of 9 is low, but given how powerful the paralysed condition is in D&D, I think that's fair. Plus, Pichu is a very low CR monster. Moving on to actions, Pichu has Slam. This melee attack has a +5 to hit against one target within 5 feet, dealing 1d4 +3 bludgeoning damage on a hit. Pichu's next action is Thunder Jolt, taken from the Smash Bros series. This ranged weapon attack has a +1 to hit due to using Pichu's Constitution, and has a range of 30 feet against one target. On a hit, the target takes 2d6 lightning damage. Pichu's final action is Thunder, which has a recharge rule of 6. Pichu creates a thundercloud which shoots down a bolt of lightning similar to the Call Lightning spell. Pichu can have the bolt strike a point it can see within 60 feet and force each creature within 5 feet of the point to make a DC 9 dexterity saving throw. The creature takes 4d6 lightning damage on a failure or half as much damage on a success. Like the Call Lightning spell, this effect does extra damage if done in stormy conditions, dealing an extra 2d6 lightning damage. Finally, we come to reactions, and Pichu has one, Lightning Rod. If a creature within 5 feet of Pichu is targeted by an attack that deals lightning damage, Pichu can make itself the target instead. But before we move on to Pikachu, there's one more thing, a first for this series, a variant feature. This is an optional feature that can be added to the stat block. Pichu's variant feature is the feedback trait. When Pichu uses an effect that deals lightning damage, such as its Thunder Jolt or Thunder action, it takes 1d4 lightning damage. Pichu don't have full control over their power yet, and some can end up doing themselves harm, which this optional trait reflects. And don't worry, the damage resistance still applies, so Pichu is only taking 1 or 2 lightning damage total. But now we can move on to the next form, Pikachu. As I said before, it's basically Pichu but stronger, but I'm sure you spotted some new things already. Let's dive in, shall we? Pikachu is also a tiny monstrosity who is unaligned. Most Pikachu are 1'4", which I would still classify as tiny. Thanks to a better dexterity, Pikachu's AC is 14. With an average of 28 hit points, Pikachu has 8d4 hit dice with a +8 bonus. Pikachu's speed increases to 40 feet, making this one speedy mouse. Pikachu's stats are as follows: 8 in strength, 18 in dexterity, 15 in constitution, 6 in intelligence, 10 in wisdom, and 13 in charisma. Pikachu has a +6 to acrobatics checks and a +2 to perception checks. Naturally, Pikachu is still resistant to lightning damage. From the bonus to perception, Pikachu has a passive perception of 12. Still lacking a language, Pikachu comes in at CR 2. Pikachu retains the static trait, which functions the same way as before, but has an increased DC of 12. Moving on to actions, Pikachu has Quick Attack, which lets it make 2 slam attacks. I know it's not how Quick Attack works in the games, but I think this is a nice middle ground. Speaking of the slam attack, it's also the same, but has a few buffs. It now has a +6 to hit and deals 1d6 +4 bludgeoning damage on a hit. Thunder Jolt returns, also getting a buff. With a +4 to hit, it now deals 3d6 lightning damage. Instead of just having Thunder, Pikachu has access to a special action called Fully Charged, which has a recharge roll of 5 to 6. This action lets Pikachu use one of its special actions that follow. The first special action is Thunder, acting the same way as before, but having a DC of 12 and dealing 6d6 lightning damage instead of 4d6. The next special action is Thunderbolt, which has Pikachu expel lightning in a 60-foot line that is 5 feet wide. Each creature in the line has to make a DC 12 dexterity saving throw or take 4d6 lightning damage on a failure or half as much damage on a success. Pikachu's final special action is Volt Tackle. Pikachu charges towards one creature it can see within 60 feet without provoking opportunity attacks. Pikachu strikes the creature, forcing it to make a DC 12 Constitution saving throw. On a failure, the creature takes 2d6 bludgeoning damage plus 8d6 lightning damage, or half as much damage on a success. Pikachu also takes damage equal to half the bludgeoning damage dealt. If a creature fails the saving throw by 5 or more, meaning if it rolls a 7 or lower, it's also paralysed until the end of Pikachu's next turn. It's a high risk move, but might be worth the risk. Moving on to reactions, Pikachu retains the Lightning Rod reaction. However, it has a new section. Pikachu can still become the target of an attack like before, but now Pikachu can help if the effect requires a saving throw. Pikachu helps the creature take half as much lightning damage by taking half of the damage itself. With a natural lightning damage resistance, this will probably mean Pikachu doesn't take too much damage. But now we can move on to the final form, Raichu. From a glance, Pikachu and Raichu have the same Shee, and you're mostly right. Raichu is now small instead of tiny due to being 2'7". Raichu's AC is 15 and has an average of 51 hit points. With 10d6 hit dice and a +16, Raichu is far more sturdy than Pikachu. Raichu's movement speed remains at 40 feet and has the following stats: 10 strength, 20 dexterity, 17 constitution, 6 intelligence, 13 wisdom, and 14 charisma. Raichu is proficient in dexterity saving throws, having a +8 to the roll. It has a +8 to acrobatics checks and a +4 to perception checks. Still being resistant to lightning, Raichu has no languages and a CR of 5. Static remains the same, with a DC of 14 now. Quick attack is the same as before, letting Raichu make 2 slam attacks. Slam has been buffed once again with a +8 hit and dealing 2d6 +5 bludgeoning damage on a hit. Thunder Jolt has also been buffed with a +6 to hit and has an extended range of 60 feet. This means that Raichu can make a Thunder Jolt attack at creatures between 35 to 60 feet away at disadvantage. To reflect Raichu's increase of power, his lightning attacks are now D8s, and Raichu can add his constitution modifier to the damage roll of Thunder Jolt, now dealing 3d8 +3 lightning damage on a hit. Thunder Jolt can hurt a lot. Fully Charged now has a recharge roll of 4 to 6, letting Raichu recharge and use special actions more often. Thunder now has a range of 90 feet and a DC of 14. While still dealing the same number of damage dice, they're now D8s, letting Raichu deal more damage. Thunderbolt has also had its length increased to 90 feet, a high save, and more damage. Volt Tackle got a buff, now dealing 3d6 bludgeoning damage and 8d8 lightning damage. Thanks to the higher DC, bows only need to roll a 9 or lower to be paralysed. Coming to reactions, Lightning Rod remains unchanged.
But wait! There's more!
We have one more form, and that's the Alolan Raichu. Due to how similar they are, I decided to make the Alolan Raichu a variant option. Alolan Raichus use the same sheet, but have the following differences. As an electric psychic type, the Alolan Raichu gains resistance to psychic damage. It also gains the Psionic Surfing trait, which means non-magical terrain on the ground does not affect the Alolan Raichu. Surge Surfer is another gain trait that kicks in when the Alolan Raichu is in a charged environment such as a thunderstorm. Whilst in this sort of environment, the Alolan Raichu's movement speed increases by 10 feet, now being 50 feet. It also has advantage on dexterity-based ability checks and saving throws. There is a drawback, however. The Alolan Raichu loses its ability to use the Lightning Rod reaction. But with that done, we've reached the end of the stat sheets. It was a doozy, but now we can move on to plot hooks. You might think Pokemon have a limited form of narrative potential, and I would tell you that you're wrong. The games and anime show there are plenty of story ideas for Pokemon, you just need to get creative. How would the world treat a creature like the Pikachu line? A creature that magically grows stronger if you help it and has a considerable amount of power for its size. I could see plenty of people wanting to tame a Pikachu for many reasons. A loyal friend, a powerful weapon, collector's prize. Maybe towns have pockets of Pichu living in it, but they aren't seen as an infestation like rats. Pichu almost weaponize their cuteness as they need affection to evolve. Maybe the pockets of Pichu are ruining a local apple farm, but the owner doesn't want them killed, just stopped. The party could try and tame the Pichu and bring them along, or maybe even get them to help with the apple farm in exchange for food. The same can apply to Pikachu. Wild Pikachu don't often go near people like Pichu tend to, but that doesn't mean they avoid them altogether. Perhaps the party find an injured Pikachu on the road and nurse it back to health. Perhaps the Pikachu was poisoned by another monster and wants a rematch. The party could help the Pikachu win and find they have a new companion. Maybe a villain is using a Pikachu to power some sort of machine. Or maybe a group of Pikachu willingly help power machines for a town they live in. Pichu and Pikachu are fairly common, unlike Raichu. The easiest way to handle a Raichu is by letting your party have their Pikachu evolve into it, an entire quest revolving around the Thunderstone. That doesn't mean they can't be found in the wild. Maybe an explorer has heard a tale of a special Pikachu bigger and tougher and hires the party to help them find it. Only after a search did they learn it's a Raichu. Or maybe they find it's a shiny version of the Pokemon. It said Raichu become more aggressive as they store more power. Maybe something is causing power to constantly flow into a Raichu, driving it mad and forcing the party to depower it somehow. There's plenty that can be done with the Pikachu line. But with that, we've reached the end of today's video. Before you head off, I would like to thank you for watching, and I hope you managed to get something out of this. The stat blocks for Pichu, Pikachu and Raichu are available on D&D Beyond for free, and the link to them is in the description. I hope you all have a great day, and may your dice roll favourably. Bye for now.